Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jai Shri Shri Radhamadhava Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 6. Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Should do word by word or chant the whole verse?
As you like. If it's an easy verse, you can just chant.
Okay. Tad akarnya vibhupraha tejiyasi kritagashi kshemaya tatra sa bhuyan na prayena bhubhusatam tadakarnya vibhupraha tejiyasi kritagashi kshemaya tatra sa bhuyan na prayena bhubhusatam tadakarnya vibhupraha tejiyasi kritagasi kshemaya tatra sa bhuyan na prayena bhubhusatam tadakarnya vibhupraha tejiyasi kritagashi kshemaya tatra sa bhuyan na prayena bhubhusatam tadakarnya vibhupraha tejiyasi kritagashi kshemaya tatra sa bhuyan na prayena bhubhusatam. Malji? Tadakarnya vibhupraha tejiyasi kritagashi kshemaya tatra sa bhuyan na prayena bhubhusatam Tadakarnya vibhupraha Tejiyasi kritagasi Chemaya tatra sabhuyan Na prayena bhubhushatam. Word for word. Tat. The events related to the demigods and the others. Akarnya. After hearing. Vibhuhu. Lord Brahma. Praha. Replied. Tejiyasi. A great personality. Krita agasi. Has been offended. Kshemaya. For your happiness. Tatra. In that way. Sa. That. Bhuyat. Bhuyatna. Is not conducive. Prayena. Generally. Bhubhusatam. Desire to exist. Translation. When Lord Brahma heard everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, he replied, "You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality and thereby offend his lotus feet. You cannot have happiness in that way." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that although Daksha wanted to enjoy the results of fruitive sacrificial activities, it is not possible to enjoy when one offends a great personality like Lord Shiva. It was good for Daksha to have died in the fight because if he had lived, he would have committed such offenses at the lotus feet of great personalities again and again. According to Manu's law, when a person commits murder, punishment is beneficial for him, because if he is not killed, he might commit more and more murders, and therefore be entangled in his future lives for having killed so many persons. Therefore, the king's punishment of a murderer is appropriate. If those who are extremely offensive are killed by the grace of the Lord, that is good for them. In other words, the Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that it was good for Daksha to have been killed. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Janashlakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamahyam Dadati Saparantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Gunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vistaya Pudaleshmida Indrana Samitanamani Namo Prabhupada Prisa Sa Jagannatha Yatana Namarte Bhaksukena Krishna Kirtanena Samhena Rakshataya Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulam Rayate Girin Yakripratamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram. Jai Prabhus, I have not given Bhagavatam class in a very long time. I've given many classes to children, but Bhagavatam class on Vyasa-san, not in a long time. So please be patient with me and forgive anything I may say incorrectly. So here in the translation and in the purport, it is very clearly described how it was good for Daksha to have been killed because otherwise he would have gone on committing such offenses. And Prabhupada very clearly brings out that one cannot be happy or get any success in a sacrifice if one blasphemes the devotees. So we can see how in our Krishna consciousness and in our process of devotional service, we are committing or doing a great sacrifice. Sacrifice means something done for the good of either yourself or for everyone, right? So, if one is doing the sacrifice of devotional service and one goes on offending Vaishnavas or offending the holy name or offending the holy Dham, the deities, etc., one cannot think of becoming successful in this way, right? One has to first understand that one has to take care of the 10 offenses to the holy name. One has to first understand that he needs to get rid of envy, greed, lust in his heart to be able to properly practice, right? Today morning we heard the verse, Jnanapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saisnuna. Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Only if one is more humble than a straw on the street, more tolerant than a tree, right? Then one can chant the names of the Lord constantly and actually become purified. Yeah? So that's why Rupa Goswami says that in this process of devotional service, there's different steps, right? We have first Ado Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangota Bhajana Kriya, Tato Narta Nivritisya, Tato Nishta Ruchi Sataha. So first we start with Shraddha. We have to start with faith in the holy name. Once we have faith in the holy name, then the Lord from within our heart, right? He says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto matasmriti jnanam abohanam cha vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedyo vedantakrit veda vid eva chaham. I am seated in the heart of everyone. And if he's seated in his heart, he will see when your shraddha is there, when your intense desire to learn about Krishna, to hear about Krishna, to associate with devotees. Then Krishna will put you in contact with devotees. Why does he take that step? Why would he wait for you to have faith to put you in the association of devotees? Free will, exactly, right? When we choose, only when we choose, then the Lord puts us in the association. And it's for our own protection, just like Brahma says, if he was not killed, he would go on committing such offenses. So to be in the association of devotees is a very magnanimous, it's an amazing thing, but it's also a very dangerous thing. Why? Because if you commit offenses to the devotees, it's so much greater than if you did all the other sinful activities in this world, right? So first you have to have faith, right? Why not just put them in the association of devotees? They'll develop faith, but in the process, what will they do? So we have to understand the gravity and understand the importance of having sincere faith and desire. Faith and desire go together. Desire for devotional service, desire for Krishna consciousness, desire for pure bhakti. Then we get in the association of devotees. By being put in the association of devotees, then Krishna sees that we're inspired, right? We're in the association of devotees, and together we can do bhajana kriya. What is bhajana kriya? Bhajana kriya is chanting of the holy names, reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, right? Hearing and chanting the holy names. That is bhajana kriya. And by performing bhajana kriya, slowly anartha nivritti comes. Little by little, anartha nivritti. They go hand in hand. You chant, little anartha goes away. You chant more, little more anartha goes away. I don't know if many of you have experienced, but sometimes when you're really trying to focus on chanting is when the most dirty thoughts come into your mind. Who has experienced this? Things that you're like, what? Where did that come from? Right? That's why the perfect analogy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives, Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, you're cleaning the mirror. Right? Only when you start cleaning do you find out how dirty it is. Right? You go to a room, it looks okay, but when you move the sofa, when you move the cupboards, oh my God, look at that. Who knows what's back there? Years and years and years, lifetimes of dirt. So I think it was Japatak Maharaj who was talking about that we have kilometers of dirt in front of our mirror. Kilometers, not a few inches, not a little bit of Greek, you have to like scrape. You didn't even know there was a mirror there. You didn't even see the room, you didn't even see the house. You're still a few mountains away of anarthas that we need to move out of the way. Right? And little by little, when you start cleaning, then you see all the dirt that's there, all the anarthas that are there. And basically what's happening is you're cleaning by chanting, and the mind is showing you an anartha. You sure you want to throw this away? And you have to say, yes, throw it away. Are you sure you want to throw this away? Yes, throw it away. One by one, anartha by anartha, you're going to go through, and it's going to come up again and again and again. Until finally you get to the mirror. Well, we get to the house. Then you have to open the door and start cleaning inside the house. Right? So we're kilometers away from our mirror. Right? And so when do we need to start cleaning? When we get old age. When we get now, Prahlad Maharaj says, how do you know who's old? What does that mean, old age? Old age means about to die. Right? Srila Prabhupada was talking to, what was he talking to? A pope, I think he was saying. And he says, when is old age? Old age means I'm about to die. He says, can you honestly say that I'm older than you? Can you say that I'm going to die before you? No. So when are you supposed to start devotional service? Today, now, yesterday, 10 months ago, now. Right? Start cleaning now. Don't wait 10 years down the road. Right? Then we can someday, hopefully by the grace of the Lord, see our mirror and see our personality, see who we are as servants of the Lord. Yeah? So when one is sincere in bhajana kriya, then anartha nivritti comes. And once anartha nivritti comes, then ruchi. One starts to develop taste. One starts to develop taste in the holy name. Right? And once one develops taste in the name, right? Oh, sorry, first nishta, firm faith in devotional service, sorry. Once one develops firm faith in devotional service from anartha nivritti, then there's no falling back. Because once you have firm faith in devotional service, why would you fall back? You understand, you have faith, you have experienced it. A little bit of ruchi starts coming also. A little bit of taste, a little bit of enjoyment through the holy name. Then one can continue on the process and go all the way till he reaches prema. Yeah? So bhajana kriya is extremely important, but only bhajana kriya comes in the association of the devotees. And association of devotees only happens if it's done offenselessly. Yeah? So therefore, it's so important that we, in the association of devotees, we be very careful not to commit offenses. Yeah? Otherwise, like Daksha, we'll be taken out of their association. Right? Nityananda Prabhu and Sadashiva. Well, they're both, right? Sadashiva Tattva and Nityananda Prabhu Tattva is very complicated, right? They're both Sankarshan and incarnations, milk and yogurt. But they both are protectors of the Dham and protectors of the devotees. And so for your own protection, just like Brahma says, when you start to commit offenses to devotees or to the Dham or to the holy name, they, for your protection, remove you from their association, remove you, and you lose taste for chanting the holy name. So you do not continue to commit offenses. Maybe this life, you won't come back to Krishna consciousness, but next life you will. And therefore you'll be able to regain where you were, rather than if you continue committing offenses, where you'll fall down to. So unless we want to be like Daksha, we have to be very careful in the association of devotees, and not commit offenses. Yes? Okay. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 870, Ramananda Roy is talking to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's describing the process of devotional service and the importance of the process of devotional service. And he says, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadi kuto pilabhyate tatra laulyam api mulyam ekhalam janma kuto shuktrair nalabhyate. Right? This process of devotional service, wherever it may be found, if it's able to be found in this material world, whatever the price, go and get it. Right? It says, whatever the price. And what is the price we have to pay? Who knows what the price we have to pay? Desire, faith, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes that beautiful song, right? The Dala Lera Gita, which means the broker's song. Right? Borosukher Khabar Gai, Borosukher Khabar Gai. Who's heard this song? Huh? It's a beautiful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Kodanitai, right? He's talking about Nityananda Prabhu, right? He says, I'll sing a few verses and then we can talk about the translation. So he says, Borosukher Khabar Gai, Borosukher Khabar Gai, Surabhi Kunjete Name Hata Khuleche, Surabhi Kunjete Name Hata Khuleche, Khodanitai, 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 Bhoramajar khata thai, Bhoramajar khata thai, Bhoramajar khata thai, Bhoramajar khata thai, Shraddha mule sudhanam sehat te bhikai, Shraddha mule sudhanam sehat te bhikai, Khodanitai, 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 Jadi naam kinbe bhai, Jadi naam kinbe bhai, Jadi naam kinbe bhai, Jadi naam kinbe bhai, Amar sange chalo mahajaner kache jai, Amar sange chalo mahajane kache jai, Tumi kinbhe Krishna naam, Tumi kinbhe Krishna naam, Tumi kinbhe Krishna naam, Tumi kinbhe Krishna naam, Dasturi lo ilo ami purna have kam, Dasturi lo ilo ami purna have kam, Khodanitai, 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 ষড়সুকের খবর গায়, ভরসুকের খবর গায়, ভরসুকের খবর গায়, ভরসুকের খবর গায়. So this beautiful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's saying that I'm bringing Bhorashuker, right? Bhorashuker means very happy news, super happy news, like breaking news, right? A storefront of pure prema has opened in Surabhi Kunj. So a shop of pure prema has opened in Surabhi Kunj, right? Nityananda Prabhu is there. And what is he asking for? Shraddha Mulya Shuddhanam. Shraddha means faith. Mulya means it's the only cost. Shuddhanam you can buy. You can buy pure prema with only faith is the cost. That's all he's asking. Right? And if you buy, right? Tumi kinbe Krishnanam, jadi kinbe Krishnanam, where am I? Jadi Nam Kinbe Bhai, right? If you buy this holy name, my dear brother, come with me. Let's go to see this Mahajan, this Nityananda Prabhu. You will gain his mercy, right? And then later on he says, the Ekbar Dekbe Chakshe Jal. So one time he sees a tear falling from the eye of a person upon chanting the holy name. Nityananda Prabhu bestows all his mercy on that person all at once. Yeah? That's why it's Kora Nitai, unbelievably magnanimous Nitai. Right? So one time he sees even a slight bit of love coming from someone when he utters the name of Krishna. Full prema he will give, if the person is open to it. Alright? Yeah, so he says, Arnaiko Kalir Boy. Later on in the song he says, Arnaiko Kalir Boy. There's no more fear of Maya. No more, it's gone, right? You can imagine someone running through the village singing this song, just no more fear, everybody be happy, there's a shop, go buy. Right? That's what Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu used to do, right? When Mahaprabhu just started his Sankirtan movement in Nadia, he would send them to go on little Harinams, and Nityananda Prabhu and Advaitacharya would run through the streets and telling everyone, right? Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. He would tell them everyone, chant the name of Krishna, sing the name of Krishna, worship Krishna, make him your life and soul. That's all they would say. And that's when they met Jagai Madai, that's when all those pastimes happened. So you can imagine someone in the streets telling everyone, go, Nityananda Prabhu is there. He's selling the holy name. All you have to do is have faith in him. Then there'll be no more fear of Maya. Arnaiko Kalir Boy. Right? Even the most fallen achandalas can get the name from Nityananda Prabhu. Doesn't matter who you are, right? You can get the name of Nityananda Prabhu. So in Bhaktivinoda Thakur at the end, he says, Bhaktivinoda Dhaki Koi, Nitai Charan Bina Ar Nahi Ashray. So apart from Nityananda's feet, Nitai Charan, Ar Bina Nahi Ashray. There's no other shelter. Yeah, there's no other shelter apart from Nityananda Prabhu's feet. So go and buy the name. And all he's asking for is Shraddha. Right? So that's what Ramananda Roy is talking about in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's saying that it doesn't matter what the cost. Go and buy it now. It's something that cannot be attained. It's something that cannot be attained in this world, even through millions and millions of lifetimes of austerities and yagyas done perfectly. So now it's there. It's available for everyone. Whatever the cost, go and buy it. And what is the cost? To have faith. Have faith and firm desire. Right? The translation for this, it says, Tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam janma kotor shaktrir nalabhyate. It says, it can be attained only by paying one price. That is intense greed, the word is used, right? Laulyam, greed, right? That word is used. It's not just desire. Laulyam, greed, something that you can't live without, right? Intense greed to obtain it. If it's available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. That's what Ramananda Roy Prabhu is talking. And Rupa Goswami puts this same verse, he puts in his Padyavali again, and he's talking about it. He says, whatever the cost, whatever the necessity, go and buy it now. Go get it now. Don't wait. The urgency is specified. Right? Now, once one gets the association of devotees, once one gets sadhu sangha, one must protect it. And how does one protect it? How can one protect himself from committing more offenses to the devotees? How can one protect himself from continuing to find faults? By developing relationships with devotees. How does one develop relationship with devotees? Right? But Rupa Goswami very clearly states, Dadati pratigrihnati guhyamakyati prichati bhunkte bhojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. They're the six, shadvidam priti lakshanam, loving exchanges between devotees. Right? Priti is used, loving, not just exchanges. Priti lakshanam, they're done with love. So dadati pratigrihnati, giving and exchanging gifts, right? Giving and receiving gifts. So revealing one's mind in confidence, and also hearing someone else's mind, right? In confidence. So if you have some problem, if you're having something, being able to go and reveal yourself openly, talk to someone about it, yeah? Not feeling the shyness that I might be judged, I might be persecuted for my mentality. No. Have that faith in relationship with devotees, right? And therefore, one can also, bhunkte bhojayate, Krishna consciousness, right? Bhunkte means eating prasadam, bhojayate, feeding prasadam, serving and receiving prasadam. It's one of the 6 main. There's not 20, there's 6. And 2 of them is prasadam. Yeah? There's so much. So please understand the importance of prasadam. It's unbelievably important in our process of Krishna consciousness. So also the 5 things that are conducive to bhakti, right? Living the holy dham, reading and studying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, worshipping the deity, right? Eating prasadam, and worshipping Tulsi Maharani. Right? Those are the 5 things that are conducive to Krishna consciousness. So here we have the opportunity to practice all 5. Wherever the Lord is, wherever his devotees are, and wherever Sankirtan is being performed is non-different from the dham. So many different places in the scriptures are described what is dham, what is a holy place. There's a description wherever the Lord is, another description wherever the devotee is, another description wherever Tulsi Maharani is, another description wherever the name of the Lord is uttered even once. Wherever the name of the Lord is uttered even once, that is a dham. So this is the dham. This is Sri Dham Simhachalam, right? So we have the opportunity to practice all those 5 here. So we should make sure that we do them daily. Yeah? Daily we should read a verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or hear a verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Daily we should associate with devotees. Daily we should greet the deities. Daily we should eat prasadam. And no one has a problem with that. Right? And daily we should worship Tulsi Maharani. Even if you miss Mangalarti, later on in the day you see Tulsi Maharani, offer your obeisances, offer a prayer. And in that way, we would be able to progress so much faster in Krishna consciousness. Right? If we do not protect ourselves from the offenses to devotees and to Krishna, right? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami very clearly states in Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela, Adi Leela, 8th chapter, 16th verse. Bahu janma kariyadi shravana kirtana tabu tana paye Krishna pade premadana. Right? Even after many, many janmas, bahu janma, many, many births of chanting and hearing about Krishna and chanting his holy name, if one does not protect themselves from the 10 offenses, one will not achieve prema. Right? It says, if one is infested with the 10 offenses in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get love of Godhead. That is the ultimate goal of his chanting. So after many births, what to speak of one birth? Many births of chanting, but if you chant with offenses, you will not achieve. And what is the first offense? First offense to the holy name, not to the devotees. To the holy name, 10 offenses are there for the holy name. And what is the first one? To blaspheme the devotees. But somehow or another, when we chant, we don't think about the devotees. We don't think about, when we chant the 10 offenses to the holy name, it doesn't really pop, you know? It doesn't like stand out, because we think, no, these are offenses to the holy name. The first one aside of holy name. No. How can that be the first one? Because chanting the holy name, bhajana kriya and sadhu sangha are non-different and have to go hand in hand. Only by the association of devotees and their mercy can one properly perform bhajana kriya. And therefore it's first. Therefore it's the first out of the 10. Instead of the 10th or the 11th extra one. No, it's the first. If commit offenses against the devotees, you have no chance of chanting the holy name without offenses. Because it's the first one. And there's another one in the 10 offenses, right? To blaspheme the Guru. Guru Aparad, Vaishnava Aparad. There's 2 out of the 10. So we have to be very careful against Vaishnava Aparad. Yes? Srila Prabhupada says, I think in a purport to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he's talking about how the mentality of a Vaishnava should be. The Vaishnava should be like a bee. The Vaishnava should go to the flowers of devotees and only look for the good qualities. Only extract the good qualities. Does the flower care? Does the bee care if the flower has thorns? Big, small, beautiful, not beautiful. Doesn't matter to it. It will go and only take the pollen, only take the good qualities of the flower. So the bee is searching for good qualities. It's not even that it finds a flower and looks for the good qualities. It's searching for good qualities. So in that mentality, if we're looking at the devotees and we're looking for good qualities, we'll find them. Right? And how can we find good qualities in devotees? By dadati pratigrihnati guhyamakati prichati. By trying to develop relationships. Then the chances of us committing offenses will be smaller. Yeah? It's like, for example, if you have many, many people and you have relationships with no one, you'll be superficially judging every single person. But if you go and you develop a relationship with 10 out of those 20 people, and you see, wow, he's good at this, he's good at that, he's amazing in this, he has this good quality, he's so nice in this way, you'll automatically start thinking that the other 10 also have good qualities because you saw so many good qualities. So if you try to develop a relationship with all the devotees you meet, automatically when you meet someone else, that propensity to look for good qualities will be there. And instead of judging the person first, what will you do? You'll be looking, oh, maybe he's good at this, maybe he's good at that. I know, I'm sure he's so nice in this way. You see how he pays obeisance, wow. Instead of, oh, look how his dhoti is dirty. Oh, look how his pleats aren't properly made. He doesn't iron his kurta. He doesn't put his chadar properly. His bead bag is so old. Whatever it may be. Oh, his tilak. Oh, he's not wearing tilak. Oh, he doesn't have a shika. So many things can be there when we look at a Vaishnava. But if we develop the propensity and develop the, how would I say? The skill, the habit, thank you, Prabhu. The habit of looking for good qualities in devotees, then that will be the first thing you look for. Yeah? Not first bad things. Yeah? Another thing that one has to guard against is hearing. Yeah, I may not say bad things about devotees, but I like to hear it. Yeah, you sit there and you, oh, that's so cool. That's so interesting. I didn't know that he did that. Hearing about bad qualities of devotees is non-different from you blaspheming them yourselves. All right, just like association with someone who is addicted to bad activities and sinful activities is worse than you performing them yourself. Why? Because it's just as dangerous. You think that you're safe, but you're not. When you're performing something yourself, you think that, oh, I'm doing it. I'm bad. I understand. But I'm next to the person who did it, so I'm okay. You think you're safe. This fearlessness from Maya is more dangerous. Prabhupada said that we Western people aren't afraid of Maya. We think we can play. We think we can dabble a little bit in Maya and we'll be okay. Well, a little bit, just a little bit. This habit of compromising on our devotional service is so great because of lack of culture and understanding and strict discipline from a young age in this process. Yeah, so people who grown up in great culture, in families with good amount of culture, are very careful against these things because they understand the seriousness. They're taught from a young age. But if you're not taught this from a young age, then you think it's okay. So this propensity to compromise in our devotional service is should be very scary, but we're not afraid of it. Yeah? So we must be very careful to guard our Bhakti Lata Beach, our creeper of devotional service, away from this mad elephant defense of offenses to the devotion, to the lotus feet of Vaishnavas. Yeah? Otherwise Shiva and Nityananda Prabhu, for our own protection, will take us away from their association. Nityananda Prabhu says he does this. He takes you away from their association so that you may stop committing offenses. And you can do everything else in the material world that's available. It doesn't matter. The next life, 2 lives, 3 lives, you may come back to the devotional service and you'll be able to continue. So they do it for your own protection, just like Brahma says here. Yeah? So we have to be very careful in the association of devotees. And instead of judging, criticizing, hearing criticism, develop relationships with one another. So daily we have to practice these 6 loving exchanges that Rupa Goswami talks about. Daily. How can I give a gift to someone? It can be something small. You see someone going for prasadam, give him the plate. That's a gift. Yeah? Helping, serving the Vaishnavas, and then serving prasadam, receiving prasadam. It's one of the 6. Right? And trying to talk to someone. Trying to talk to some of the devotees. Hear something that they might be going through. Doesn't always have to be negative, can be something spiritual. Prabhu, I had this wonderful realization today. Prabhu, I read this amazing thing in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam today. Prabhu, I heard this class today. Right? And then in that way, you're revealing your mind, and in that way, you're sharing loving exchanges between the devotees and improving your relationship. And therefore, the chances of criticism, the chances of committing offenses to the Vaishnavas is diminished. Slowly, slowly. And then one has a chance to chant sincerely. And when one has a chance to chant sincerely, he will slowly, slowly get to anartha nivritti. Little by little, the anarthas will go away. Little by little, this envy, right? Srila Prabhupada describes in another purport, he's talking about this pastime, and he talks about how Daksha was envious of Shiva's respect and fame. Right? Even though Shiva was, how would I say, not so aesthetically pleasing to look at, right? Shiva has ashes on him, snakes, right? Depending on his form, it can be very scary. But he's so respected because Vaishnavatam Mahashambhu, he's the greatest devotee, right? And he is Patita Pavana, he is so merciful to the most fallen. And who is the most fallen? People who we don't even want to think about. Bhutas, Pretas, Pisachas, right? Those entities that no one else wants to even think about, that is scary to think about. When you think about it, you say Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. But Shiva lets them come close and hear him chant, and hear him do his worship, and hear him worship Sankarshan. Who is Sankarshan? The Lord. Yeah? So, because of his envy, Daksha was killed. So this enviness, this anartha of envy is something that we have to work on, that we have to safeguard against. When you see someone with something else, what is very easy, Gopal Krishna Maharaj is describing in this verse, it's very easy for one to commit aparad to senior devotees because of envy in this world. You see your spiritual master, you see other spiritual masters, you see senior devotees with so many facilities, right? Oh, how come he has that? Right? There's the story in Chaitanya Charitamrita when Mahaprabhu went to eat in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house, right? He was eating every day in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's wife, I forgot her name, was cooking, I think, 86 preparations or 90-something preparations. You can imagine the feasts that she was cooking for Mahaprabhu. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya would lock the door because his family used to be impersonalists, but due to the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became the greatest personalist, right? His son-in-law, his name was Gaura, I forgot it. Amoga, right? He was so envious, and he was looking for faults. He was trying to see a fault in Mahaprabhu because everyone wanted to see him, everyone wanted to worship him. So he was going to the house simply to find a fault. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya used to stand outside his house with a broom in his hand to beat his son-in-law away. So he wouldn't commit offenses to Mahaprabhu, and he wouldn't be degraded. One time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when Mahaprabhu was eating, he had to go and help his wife with something in the kitchen. And so Moga quickly went and looked and saw Mahaprabhu with this room full of preparations, and Mahaprabhu was eating the feast. And so he said, what kind of sannyasi is this? Look how luxurious he's eating. Look, what kind of feast he's eating. How can this be a renunciate? And so he committed this offense. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he came, but it was too late, and so he sent him off. Then Mahaprabhu, a few weeks later, he was in the house of, I can't remember, and he asked, how is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, how is Amoga? He asked about all the family members. And they told him that Amoga had cholera, and he was suffering, he was on his deathbed. And so Mahaprabhu quickly went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house, and he saw Amoga there on the bed, and so he put his hand on his heart, and he said, Amoga, why do you keep envy in your heart? You must get rid of this envy, otherwise Krishna will never want to reside in your heart. If envy is there, Krishna cannot come in. And so Amoga let go of this envy, and immediately he was able to stand up, and he fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu and asked for forgiveness. Right? So envy is the greatest, one of the greatest, but yeah, the greatest impediment we have in devotional service, because it makes us stay away and not get close in sadhu sangha. If one has lust and so many other things, through association one can get rid of it. But envy stops us from getting close to devotees. Envy stops us from developing relationships and makes us commit offenses. Yeah? Envy is the cause of lust and greed and anger. That's why envy is barely ever described in, well, it's never described in the spiritual world as one of the relationships or one of the feelings that come up. The gopis have jealousy, right? They also want to be with Krishna. They don't want to be with Krishna instead. They see Krishna with Radharani, they don't think, oh, he shouldn't be with Radharani, he should be with me. No, they think, I also want to be with Krishna. The gopas see Krishna playing with a particular gopa and they think, I also want to play with Krishna. So jealousy is there, transcendental jealousy, but envy is never there. Right? Yeah? So that moment when envy appeared in the rasa dance is when Krishna disguised himself, became invisible. And only when the gopis saw Radharani alone and felt so bad for her and wanted Krishna to come back for her, did Krishna reappear. When envy disappeared. When envy was gone, when they wanted Krishna to come back so that Radha, because when they saw the intensity of Radha's separation for Krishna, when they saw that, wow, she actually loves Krishna. I don't really have it. It's like when one gets a small cut on his finger, and then you see someone else, you know, who knows what happened to them, you're like, that was nothing. It was nothing, right? What someone else is going through, when you see the gravity of what Radharani was going through, the gopis understood that their love is nowhere in comparison. And so that's why they gave up their envy, and Krishna was able to come back, and the rasa dance continued. So what do we have to do? Give up envy, and become like a bee, only look for good qualities. Then we'll be able to develop relationships with devotees. Yeah? And it's so much more positive to live like that. Who likes to live with this negative attitude? Right? I don't know about you, but when you hear someone talk about bad qualities, bad things, it stays with you. It hurts. It brings your whole mentality down. And from the morning, whenever you hear it, the rest of the day is horrible. All right? Like for myself, I become very much affected by negative things. When I watch something, I always look for happy things, funny things, comedies. I don't look for, horror films, sad things, because it stays with you. So in the same way, when you hear bad qualities or when you hear criticism, when you hear things that are negative, it stays with you. And it can become something that you actually look forward to, right? Any kind of interaction, any kind of feeling in this material world is a feeling. And sometimes people become addicted to the most degraded and lowest forms of feeling. Taste, smells, simply because their consciousness is going down, like Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita. There's objects of the senses in the mode of goodness, objects of the senses in the mode of passion, and objects of the senses in the mode of ignorance. So when one starts going down, when his mentality starts going down, then those objects of the senses become desirable to him. Right? There's this story of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. He was in Burma, and he was doing preaching in Burma. And Burma is a country, like many other Asian countries, where they eat many things that for us would be unimaginable. And so they have this thing that is basically an achar of roadkill. Right? Achar is like a pickle. Any animals that die on the street, they put it in a big pot and they let it ferment, and it becomes like a sauce, and they like it. But you can imagine the smell of this. And so Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, when he went there, he was doing, it was I think Janmashtami or something, and he was cooking puris. He was frying puris and making wonderful sabjis. But all the neighbors came and complained that the smell they couldn't tolerate. The smell of frying puris they couldn't tolerate, but the smell of that thing that they eat they can tolerate and they look forward to. How does one get to that stage? How does one go down so much in the mode of ignorance that they can think that that's desirable, that that's tasty, that that smells good? Right? That's what we have to be careful. We have to make sure that we do not let ourselves drop into that place, drop into these kind of topics, drop into the desire to hear criticism, drop into the desire to criticize devotees, because that is our mentality dropping down. Looking for that taste in gossip. Everybody loves to gossip, right? But that taste in gossip is something that we have to be very careful and not engage in. And look for happy things, look for good qualities, look for good descriptions, look for glorification of devotees. Yeah? So these are the points I wanted to bring up. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try answer. Yes, bro.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice flow of topics, let's say. And I think this topic is so important. You can talk about every lecture.
Yes.
And yeah, just a side comment. Thank you for the first lecture actually you give. So now after this nice lecture, Chinmoy Prabhu is obliged to put you every week.
Oh,
and
no.
you are obliged to accept the seva also. I just was wondering, we say that at the beginning one should develop faith in chanting the holy name or in the process generally of devotional service. And it seems simple because, right, it's the beginning stage, so it's just faith and we are aiming for the higher things. But still there needs to be some taste in order to chant with faith, right? So it sounds a little bit paradoxical for me that I don't have any taste for the holy name, so why should I have faith in it? Why should I have faith in the process? So maybe you can give a hint how to develop faith although you don't have taste.
Yes. First, we must develop distaste with this material world. Right? So distaste. We have to understand that we are not happy in this material world. We are not fulfilled. And that's why many people come to Krishna consciousness, because they find so much distaste and unsatisfaction in all the different forms of enjoyment there is in this material world. So when one understands that that's not desirable, one can look for the desirable object. One can understand that I need to look for something else. Then when one comes in contact with Krishna consciousness, one can begin to hear about it. When one begins to hear about Krishna consciousness, doubts arise. And by the clarification of doubts, one develops faith. Right? Therefore, the presence of the spiritual master or spiritual masters, right, Shiksha Gurus, is so important in our process of devotional service because they eliminate doubts. And by eliminating doubts, one slowly begins to achieve nishta. There is, I forgot who was describing the process of devotional service, Shraddha, right? Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, nishta. Right? So these processes aren't that it's like you finish one, you get to the other. It's that you're developing them in a gradual process, but a little bit of different ones will come. Sometimes the Lord will be merciful, and as a very new devotee, one comes to the kirtan and experience such happiness. Right? He's attaining ruchi before Shraddha. How does that work? Right? How did that happen? Because the Lord saw that this devotee needs this to get Shraddha. Understand? So once one has a sincere desire to develop faith, then faith comes. Right? And the desire comes to the amount you're distasteful with this material world, to that amount you will develop taste in Krishna consciousness, because your answers will come to all your questions. Through Guru, through reading Prabhupada's books, through association with devotees, through Guhya Makyati Prachati, right? Through talking with devotees and revealing your questions, your doubts, or hearing their glorification and realizations, you develop a little bit of faith and a little bit of your doubts are diminished, and therefore you achieve Shraddha. Right? But even Mahaprabhu talks about it, right? Even though I have heard so much, I do not have taste. I still don't have taste for chanting your whole name. I'm so fallen that I do not have taste. Right? That's the translation to the 4th verse of Sikshashtakam. Second, right? That I do not have faith. I do not have taste. So even they're saying I do not have taste. Narottam Das Thakur talks about it all the time. I do not have faith. I do not have taste. I'm so fallen, I do not have taste. So this feeling or this desire for more taste or more intense desire to chant the holy names of the Lord is something that we should want. Like Javdak Maharaj says, he says always, if you cannot cry for Krishna, you cry for Krishna. If you not cry for Krishna, then you cry for Krishna. Right? So if you have no desire for taste for Krishna, you should desire to have desire for taste for Krishna. If you do not have desire to have desire for taste for Krishna, you should desire to have desire for taste for Krishna. So this desire in any form to any amount is good, and we should find ways to increase that. Yeah, so if you find that for you it works better reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you feel some taste, then go for it. If you find desire in kirtan, go for it. Whatever you find a little bit of faith coming, or a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of enthusiasm, go into that to full extent. Yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm only attached to kirtan. No, if he's only attached to kirtan, let him do kirtan. That for him. Someone else is very attached to serving prasadam, someone else cooking prasadam, someone else eating prasadam. Let him be attached to that. There was one very materialistic person came to meet Srila Prabhupada. So materialistic that Prabhupada was even laughing. He came, and he was a wealthy businessman, and he was talking to Prabhupada, but he was just very pleasant. And Prabhupada started preaching to him and talking about how this material life of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending is for animals. And then he said, but I like that. I like mating, I like defending, I like doing this, I like sense gratification. And Prabhupada said, so you're an animal? He says, yes, I'm an animal. He didn't care. He said, okay, you're a dog, you're living like a dog, okay. It was just, I'm fine with that. So Prabhupada understood that no amount of preaching is going to affect him, so he said, give prasadam. So they gave him gulab jamun. And the man, in his suit, he has the gulab jamun, and he's holding it and trying to say goodbye to Prabhupada, but the juices start spilling onto his cufflinks and his, silk and everything. And Prabhupada's like, eat it, it's dripping everywhere. And he says, no, I want to take it home. He said, no, eat it. So the man takes a small bite, and then, when you can't take a bite of gulab jamun. There's this juice everywhere, but he likes it, and he's happy, and he's eating. And he says, can I have another? And Prabhupada said, yeah, you can have another. He says, yeah, I want to take it home and put it in my rum when I drink my rum. And Prabhupada says, no, this is prasadam, you can't do that. He says, no, I want to go put it in my rum. And so Prabhupada, this person does not understand, but he has desire for prasadam. So he gave him prasadam. And the person was happy, and a great experience, and went home. That person in his next life, or later on in this life, something will happen to him that will make him remember that interaction with Srila Prabhupada. And because it was a positive interaction, and because he had desire for prasadam, that will build something within him, even if nothing else. So we have to, whatever source of inspiration we find, doesn't matter what it is, we have to dedicate ourselves and get into that to get all the inspiration we can out of there. And then it might change. Oh, now I'm attracted, by purification of eating prasadam, you might become attracted to hearing about Krishna. Listen to Krishna's pastimes, listen to the books, read Krishna book, read all the books you can. Then by there you will develop taste for chanting, and like that it will spread everywhere. But first, as you said, faith comes by becoming distasted or disattracted to this material world and everything it has to offer. And that comes by the clarification of doubts, by understanding, by hearing. Then you can then doubts will arise, and by doubts arisen, then you can clarify them. And when they get clarified, more doubts will arise, more doubts will be taken care of, and like that, more shraddha and more faith will come in the chanting of holy name. Does that answer your question, Faru?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sorry, Faru.
Just curious, so what's your biggest attachment?
Biggest attachment?
To cooking or kirtan?
Oh, you mean the spiritual attachment? That I can speak about.
Because you're doing a little bit of everything, right? Maybe more than anything.
Yeah, right now I'm struggling to find, how would I say, so much connection to Krishna and everything, right? So I'm trying to do the things that I'm good at, and then looking for taste in the holy name. So rather than I would say I found it, I would say I'm still looking. And yeah, I find a little bit here and there in the lectures of my spiritual master. I find a lot of inspiration, stories of Srila Prabhupada. I find a lot. But I like listening, I like cooking, and I feel that I can offer that to the Lord, and hopefully He will give a little bit of taste. I think, anyway.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Julian.
You talked about how we give up envy.
Yes.
At a certain point. And I feel like that this realization is developing more and more during the process. But the point is that at one point we didn't have this realization, and probably without knowing it, without even intending it, we were just out of habit, out of bad habit. From many, many past lives we were committing many of those envious acts, especially within the mind. It's very easy to think like, oh, why is this devotee looking so weird, or something like that, like really nasty things actually.
Yeah.
And how can we atone for that if a Vaishnava aparada can only be forgiven by the specific Vaishnava against whom we committed the offense?
Well, the Vaishnava aparad, that was the whole question, correct? Okay. Vaishnava Aparad is not that it can only be forgiven by, the Lord can also forgive you for that offense if there is sincere desire to be forgiven, right? And so there's two different forms of offenses. Those done consciously, with full consciousness, right? I forgot the song. Anyway, back to Thakur song. It'll come to me. So there's those done with full consciousness. So you heard all the rules and regulations, you heard all the dangers of Vaishnava Aparad, and yet you consciously continue to commit. And there's those done unconsciously, right? And so just how we have chanting of the holy name, right? We have pure chanting, Shuddhanam, but we also have Namabhas, right? Which is the shadow of the holy name. And so when we chant with offenses, but with desire to clean them, that is Namabhas, right? We're chanting, we're committing offenses, we are offending Vaishnavas, we're doing things. Maybe not consciously, like you said, right? Just thoughts come into your head. Sorry, I'll use you as an example. Your temple commander gets in your case for some reason. Oh, bro, how do you do that? He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, right? Whatever may come, right? In the process of devotional service, so many, there are mistakes, right? So many offenses may happen, but by chanting and desire to clean those offenses, those offenses become nullified and void, and they go away, right? And slowly one can gain to Shuddhanam. But one has to actually be chanting Namabhas, not Namaparad. If one is committing offenses on the strength of the holy name, then you're doing a double, how do you say? Double trouble, right? Then you're committing an offense to the holy name and committing the second offense to the holy name, committing offenses on the strength of the holy name, right? So Namaparad is not desired and something that we cannot continue to do. Namabhas is chanting the name with offenses, but with desire to gain Shuddhana. So those offenses that you may have committed before coming to Krishna consciousness, after coming to Krishna consciousness, are clearly have become purified. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? Nityananda Prabhu wouldn't let you come into the association of devotees if you were so degraded because of so many offenses to the devotees, right? If Nrsimhadev was here, he wouldn't let you. If you're here, that means automatically he's forgiven you and he is giving you the opportunity to chant. He's giving you the opportunity to be in the association of devotees. Understand? There was that pastime with Prabhupada that one devotee, he was talking to Prabhupada and he wanted to, get some attention, right? And so he was telling Prabhupada, I am the most fallen, I am the most degraded, I have committed so many offenses, I have this, I am that, I'm the most this, most that. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, you're not the most anything, right? You're becoming proud because you're trying to say that, right? You're trying to act humble. No, you're not the most anything. So cool down, relax. Yeah, if you're in the association of devotees and you're here in front of the Lord performing service, He's accepting your service means that definitely you're on the right track. Yeah, and with sincere desire while chanting the holy name of the Lord, those offenses that you have committed unconsciously will be forgiven. And those offenses that you have committed consciously, if there's the opportunity to, if you, let's say, like you said, if you remember an instance where you have committed offense to a certain Vaishnava, if you get the opportunity, you ask forgiveness. They might even remember it. If they do remember it, they'll forgive you. If they don't forgive you, still you did your part, and then you chant with sincerity, and you'll get forgiven. Right? Many offenses you might commit to Vaishnava that he will never forgive you. Right? That's his choice. A pure Vaishnava would forgive you, obviously, but that's not up to you to judge. That's another excuse we use very often. I can offend him because look how nonsensical he is. But then what does Haridas Thakur say? A person who chants the name of the Lord even once is a Vaishnava. So who are we to say, oh, he's not a Vaishnava because look, he doesn't put his tilak straight. Right? We can't judge. So even if the person may not be advanced enough to understand and to forgive us, we should not think, oh, then it's okay because he's not advanced enough. I can offend him. Right? Prabhupada talks about how Gopal Krishna Maharaj, he talks about how once one becomes in devotional service, he becomes a little bit steady, right? He starts to chant, starts to be in association. He thinks he has a license to commit Vaishnava Aparad because he's more advanced. This is more dangerous, right? The Kanishta Adhikari will come and then see everyone so amazing, so wonderful, Prabhu. Someone who joined 3 days before him will become like his spiritual master. But then one, shaves his head, puts tilak on, starts doing little service, knows how to wash pots and knows how to cook for the Lord or whatever, and then thinks that, oh, now I know so I can judge, that's more dangerous. Better to be the Kanishta Adhikari. Yeah? And actually you are a Kanishta Adhikari, but anyway. Does that make sense? Yeah?
With conscious aparadas, you mean aparadas which are committed with the intent of offending the person?
Yes. There's that, and then there's also fully understanding that you're committing Vaishnava Aparad. Like later on, if you're thinking about it, oh my God, I did Vaishnava Aparad, but then looking for no form of forgiveness. You clearly thought, it came to your head, you cannot hide from your thoughts. Krishna knows what you're thinking, right? He says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sangi bisto. He's there in your heart. He knows what you thought. So you're conscious of it. You're conscious that I committed Vaishnava Aparad, and you have no desire to go and apologize, to go get forgiveness. And even if you do, you're not sincere. You're doing it simply for the face of it, right? So you cannot be like that, right? And that's up to each individual person to show his sincerity to the Lord who's there in his heart. Make sense? Okay, Sanjay, bro. It was connected? Yeah. Let's say, bro. Okay. Any other questions? No? Wonderful.
Just a small one. I don't know if I have it correctly. You mentioned that Namabhas does not necessarily mean that there is taste. You said Namabhas is the desire to
get Shuddhanam.
To get Shuddhanam.
Yeah.
Okay, so
does that mean that, because my understanding of Namabhas was always that there is some, taste. Or
There is taste.
There is no bitterness, at least.
Yes, exactly. There's no bitterness. You're chanting with a desire to get freed from your anarthas and to get freed from the 10 offenses to the holy name and to reach Shuddhanam, right? But so many unconscious offenses might occur. Inattentiveness during chanting, right? Not fully understanding, right? Even after hearing all these rules and regulations, still not having faith in the holy name. Who among us have not committed that offense to the holy name? Number 10, right? Even after hearing all this, still we do not have taste for chanting. We do not chant the name without offenses. So we're committed. We're chanting Namabhas, but that doesn't mean that that's wrong or that's not good. That we shouldn't chant because we're chanting Namabhas. No, there is taste to the holy name, or else you wouldn't be chanting. Even on the level of sadhana bhakti that I'm supposed to chant, and therefore I chant. And maybe once a month, once a year, once every 10 years, I feel a little bit of desire. That's still desire. You understand? That's why sadhana bhakti is so important. And we cannot think that we can jump over sadhana bhakti to raganuga bhakti. The rules and regulations are there. Like, it's actually very amazing if you read Pancharatra Pradeep or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the description of your entire day is there. How from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you're doing devotional service. If you follow the temple program. Right? Why do you wake up in the morning? To go see the Lord. Why do you brush your teeth? So that your mouth is clean when you chant His names. Why do you take a bath? Because that's what you're supposed to do when you go see the Lord. You're supposed to be clean. Right? You want to be awake. You want to be attentive. Why do you dress in a certain way? For His pleasure. Why do you put tilak on? To anoint the self, right? To purify, to make the body a temple. Right, so every single activity that you go through in the day is service, and if you become conscious of that, then you can perform, instead of agyata sukriti, you're performing devotional service. You're performing sadhana bhakti. So being conscious of what you're doing during the day, not just like going through the motions, is very important. Right, it's same like chanting of the Gayatri mantra, something so important that sometimes we very much neglect and we don't understand. That's why anyone who has Brahmin or who is inspired to get Brahmin, there's a wonderful book written by Satyanandan Maharaj, the Gayatri book. It is amazing. It is just incredible. Once you read it, you understand that there's no difference between the Gayatri mantra and the holy name. Because if you chant it in that way, you're simply glorifying the Lord. It's same like the Vaishnava songs. And you meditate upon the Lord. So it's same like at least 3 times a day you're going to sit down and think about the Lord in His different forms and pastimes. At least 3 times. Instead of just sit there and chant something that you're not sure what it means. Right? So doing things consciously is so important. Yeah, not just doing them for the sake of doing them. Because he said so or because he said so. No. Why am I chanting? What does the Maha Mantra mean? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to think about? Like Prabhu asked me yesterday, how to stay focused while chanting the holy name. And Krishna so kindly gave us so many different objects of the senses that we can do, that we can engage in devotional service, instead of the artificial withdrawal of the senses, like Arjuna describes in Bhagavad Gita. To stop the senses and to stop the mind is harder than stopping the wind, right? And so to be able to control the mind or focus the mind during japa, the easiest way is to, whenever some sense or some of the senses are starting to pull you in some way, try to engage that sense in the Lord's service. So if you're feeling the need to talk, find a secluded place like Jabdak Maharaj used to do and chant louder. If you're feeling the need to touch something, you find yourself fidgeting with your dhoti, with your chadar, whatever, touch your beads harder. If you feel the need to look somewhere, you feel your eyes going everywhere, the Maha Mantra is right there. Look at the Maha Mantra, look at the Lord, look at Srila Prabhupada. Focus, read letter by letter. Satyananda Maharaj says that each letter is not different from the Lord. Right? So look at each and every letter and then engage the eyes. Right? So in that way, if you feel your senses pulling you in one way, engage it. Pulling another way, engage it. Throughout the day, you find your mind taking you in so many places. And in the books given by the Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada's books, there's a remedy for each and every anartha. Root of anartha, lust, anger, greed. Right? And so if you feel lusty during the day, you feel desires, engage it. Deity worship. Right? It's amazing. That's why Grihastha life is centered around the form of the Lord, the Archa Vigraha, the Archa Murti. Because by relating to the Lord in a form, in a personal way, we become cleansed of this desire of lust. Purity is needed to worship the deity. Purity conquers lust. Discipline conquers lust. Every single quality that's needed for deity worship is a direct cure for lust. And therefore it's purified. So anger, so many different things are there. And if we want to purify that anartha, we simply need to look for the remedy and then engage our senses in the Lord's service. We have to understand that we are not impersonalists. We are not yogis, that we sit there and artificially control the senses and control the mind. No, our process is to engage the senses. So let's engage them. Sometimes we're chanting, we're just like, no. And what are you thinking about? You're thinking about the Lord? No, you're thinking about your mind. You're thinking about your hands. You're thinking about something that someone said, instead of engaging them in the Lord's service, which is way easier. So take advantage of our easy process to go back to Godhead and engage our senses in the Lord's service to their full extent until they're saturated and cannot handle anymore, and then we'll have taste for the holy name. Yeah? Srila Prabhupada ki, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Vanchakal Trivishya Kripasindhya Chavititanam Pavanivyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha.
Zusammen mit den Fingern, oder wie?